Morning, it's Brentley here from Huckabones. Today we're going to look at the SVL-3, new release from Kubota, just changing from the -2 model. That's been great for us, but a few new improvements that we're going to go over today. All right, so today we've got the SVL-75-3 behind me. I don't have a -2 here to compare, but we're gonna try and compare some notes from my training and looking at other brands that we had as well. So to start off, your width is 1 inch narrower than the SVL-2, so that is a 68-inch width now, but they've lengthened the machine 3 inches, so it's now a 112. Long machine by 68, the height is still the same. What they've done with those measurements is given it increased rated operating capacity, so it's up to 2490 now at 35% ROC. The new pressurized cab, which we'll get into a little bit in depth a little later, is a nice feature for a little bit quieter cab, a little better airflow cab. It'll be better on the maintenance side that you'll see soon. LED lights all around the cab. We have a new rear view camera now standard on this model, along with a 7-inch touchscreen to see that camera and to control all your stuff inside. New switch panel inside. New joysticks, controls for your buttons, and they are labeled, so nice little features there for operation. It is a keyless start now with a passcode, so you can have multiple operators using it, and we'll get into depth with that. It's quite complex, but it doesn't have to be at the same time. Auxiliary flows have been increased, and that's due to it's an open hydraulic system now, like the SVL-97 we have. So open hydraulics will mean that it won't take away hydraulic flow when you need to turn your machine or use your tracks along with using a hydraulic implement on the front. So that is going to be a great new feature. It's gone from 17.5 gallons per minute to 19.2 on your standard flow, so that is a nice thing. Our speeds are increased, so we were 11 kilometers an hour, and now 13.7 kilometers an hour on the new machine, as they've done a new transmission in this, and it is a variable speed transmission, or auto downshift they'll call it, and we'll get in a little more in depth later in the video of that. There is a nice new feature called a reversing fan, so this is to clear off any debris on your back screen that's preventing airflow to come in and cooling to come in for your machine, so we'll go over that as well. Just like the SVL-2, we still have our rubber track option, but this is going to be standard now, only one way. We could get a narrow and a wide before. This is wide only, so 400 millimeter tracks. You do have an H pattern. This was a request by operators instead of your square pad pattern, I'll call it. This is more of an H pattern, so this is going to give you a little better traction in all seasons up here in Canada. You can do a snow track still, but this is what's come standard. Your back end, you're still going to have your cross tube for structure between your lifting arms. It is a vertical lift, so straight up lift. You do have a self-leveling loader as standard. It will be an on and off switch inside, so you can regulate when that's in operation or not. The back door will look the same. Few differences to it. It actually has the gas tank inside, just like our SSV series. That will give us more room inside for working around maintenance items and changing anything that you need to. The one neat feature right in the middle here is a black camera, so that is hidden in the sake of damage wise, but there for great visibility, and we'll show that on the screen in a little bit. All right, moving around to the front of the machine here now. Of course, you can have lots of options of buckets. This is a long floor bolt-on cutting edge option, so a straight edge on your bucket. You can do tooth buckets, you can do short floor buckets. There's lots of options, of course, depending on your application. What you won't see behind the bucket is the quick attach. So it's a skid steer quick attach. That's standard, of course, but you do have the option of picking either mechanical levers, so that's you lifting the 2 levers up to lock down and unlock the implement, or you can do hydraulic like this has. We'll show you the button inside, but you're going to push a button that is going to unlock or lock down your implements hydraulically. The other part here is your hydraulic implement connections. So this is for adding any attachments that are hydraulically driven. You will have your smaller features here for standard flow. You will have your larger couplers here for high flow. And then this is a return to port on the 5th one. Your standard flow will just have 2 of them. So just depending on how you order this machine, again, you have mechanical or hydraulic coupler, you have standard or high flow, and then you're going to have cab option of open station, which would not have your AC, and full pressurized cab, or like this one, it does. And of course, our feature and fame is our roll-up door. So nice wide door rolls up out of the way to get in, locks up, and you can lock it if you're moving around with it, that it doesn't come unlatched. But nice wide entry to get in. 2 handles that are bolt-on handles, so if those do get damaged in the field, you can bolt them on and replace them, where other manufacturers are weld onto the cab and you cannot do that for certification of the cab. So nice 2-point entry of grabbing both handles, nice steps in, and nice wide door open. So let's go in. All right, let's get in. So 2-point, nice spin around, lots of room. I'm not a big guy, but there is lots of room in here. Your lap bars are nice that they are independent of each other. You're not bringing something over your head like other manufacturers, so nicer for small guys, but nicer for big guys too. Behind us, we're gonna have a window where you can pop these down, push that window out for exit. So of course, for safety purposes, you have to have an exit strategy if that door wouldn't be able to roll up and go out the front. Other brands, you're gonna have a hammer to hit to break the glass. You're gonna have a wire to pull to break the glass, but it is a nice big window. If you did have to crawl out, there is good ample space there. Getting into the controls, which we'll show you some shots of, but you're gonna have on your left side all your heater, AC control. This switch is gonna be your hydraulic implement lock. So again, if it's not there, that you have mechanical, it won't be. Your joysticks, so this is pilot control. One's gonna drive your tracks, one's gonna drive your loader. So up and down, side to side for your bucket, where this is gonna be point and shoot the direction you kind of wanna go. You've got labeled now of what hydraulic features they are, your horn, your implements, your 2-speed transmission sort of button, that kind of thing. Nothing on the pillars like the old style, it's all beside you now. And again, that's part of this new design cab. Everything's back here, you're not reaching up, you're not taking your hands off the controls too far. On your right side, a little more technologically advanced in this model, where you have a 7-inch touch screen, which we'll get into in a minute, but you do have a touch ability. You also have a dial ability here. So you have push button with dial, or you can touch the screen. You're gonna have your implement and parking lock. You're gonna have your self-leveling loader button. You're gonna have your lights button, your wipers, and that kind of thing over on your right side. So you're gonna come into your machine. It's gonna be all black, but you have your engine start stop button. You have your RPM gauge or dial there for what RPMs. You also have a foot pedal on the floor for that. But we're gonna start. So we're gonna hit the button once. It's going to bring up your key code, where you'll put in your 4-digit code that you select. The neat thing with Kubota is you can have 51 codes, and why do you say 51 codes? But that's for different operators. So some companies have large operator use and different locations that this machine will be at. So you could have an operator code for anyone that needs to in your fleet, and you can monitor their performance. So you can really look at what they have for fuel economy, for run times, for jobs. You can do that for certain jobs, putting in a user code, and then you know where you've been and taking the dial that way. The neat thing is that you can restrict certain codes to not be able to get into some places. So an example would be if you wanted to restrict the RPM that one of your operators could use, that they couldn't be fully at full RPM or in a certain area that you don't want the speed there, you can dial in what they can travel, what they can do. So it does have some neat features that way. We'll look at the screen here. It's showing that we have a turtle, so that means that we're in low speed of the 2 speeds. Our track, so the track, when we'll get into it there, it has its different modes for track response. So you have mild, normal, and quick. Your normal is your middle, and that is your factory setting that way. But that will adjust how aggressive your torque is when turning and dialing in. So that's what that's showing. We've got our oil pressure light on and battery light on because we're not running yet. We've got our parking brake and our hydraulic lock. So let's start this up. We've got into the code. We can just hit the start button. So on the screen, it's going to show you what volts you have on your battery. It is going to show you your fuel gauge. It is going to show you your temperature gauge of both the engine and your hydraulics. So nice information there. You've got your time, you've got your hours, you've got your date, and then you've got your RPM digitally. So again, you can turn this dial up or down if you want a standard or a constant flow, I should say, or constant RPM. Or you do have the foot pedal if you are driving the machine. Again, if we're going to be moving, so we'll take the parking brake off and our hydraulics, sorry, we'll put our arms down and do that again. But if you do go into reverse, instantly your backup camera is going to come up. So that is what you're going to see on your screen. You can adjust where these lines are. So for proximity reasons, you can have them dialed in exactly how you need to for your certain job. You hear that beeping, that's the backup beeper, of course, standard. There is an option in here, I believe, to turn the travel alarm off. So this is another neat feature. So your camera automatically comes on, automatically comes off as you put it in reverse. So again, in reverse, let go, that you're back to neutral, and that camera's going to come off. So nice feature there. Your radio controls are all in here. Let's go back to not having the touch screen. Radio controls, you can dial it in, Bluetooth, all that sort of thing. Again, your setting buttons. If we go home, you have a dial over here that you can change and move and hit enter on anything you want to see, or you can do the touch screen. So nice there. You're always going to be in command of seeing what your operating levels are at, but at the same point you can be dialing through and looking at different options. All right, so we're going to dig a little bit more into the screen features. So on your dial, you have your home button. That's going to bring up your options here. So we were looking at the auto before. Let's go into the vitals. So by turning your dial and pushing down on the dial, it goes into that. So you can really look at, and you can change these of what you want to see, but there is a lot of options there of showing you what your machine is doing. So a nice information screen to look at different options there. Going back to the other options, we've got a maintenance tab. So this is going to show you your maintenance interval. So, you know what I mean, everyone always asks us when and what. It's right here on your screen. So you can see what hours you put on it, when your next service is, what you're doing for those services, and check them off. So neat that way. Go into it, and you know what I mean, you can go down the list of what you're doing at certain times. So back to the home screen, we've got our daily log. So we can go in here, we can record what hours we're doing on what day, and you can revisit this. You can look at all users, you can look at months, and dive into that a little bit deeper again with billing and recording and what operators doing or what you're billing out on jobs. Back to the home screen, we have any warnings. So if anything comes up for warning, it'll say on this screen, so you can dial in, phone your dealer, look in your manual of what code it's bringing up, if it's bringing up a code, and that's right in this screen here. Home screen, we got settings. So this is going to get elaborate on what you can do. But date and time, of course, and language, you're just changing for your operation. Unit settings. Sometimes you'll need codes in this to access, and that's where I was talking before of having different users and different logins. Sometimes they'll be locked out of this stuff. So you have your main operator or main owner code, and then you can have 50 others that have less options on them. But you can pick metric or standard, screen brightness, light auto shut off. So this is something that when exiting the machine at night, just like a vehicle, you can set up. So this is a code that needs the owner's code in it to change, but you can set that, hey, we want to have 30 seconds of lights on after we shut down the machine. So that can be done now on this new machine lockout. So this is another feature of what you're locking out. Track response. So this is what I talked about on how you're responding of your auto shift. So again, whenever your machine now senses any torque that is needed of turning or going, this is the sensitivity level that you'll see of how you want that to perform. User management, again, that's just going to be in, you have to enter the code to enter and enter those options. Your camera, so this is where you can dial in your guidelines, where you want that to be, okay? You can dial that in on your display, your center line, your width that you're seeing. Image position settings, so you can adjust where that is vertically, horizontally, and adjust your camera of what you're seeing. So nice little features there. The camera settings itself, so that's where it's switching on and off automatically, or you can have it when you start up, sort of thing, to look behind you. So nice little features on a simple camera for sure. Go back to the settings. We've got touch operation of what you want to have on or off. So whenever you touch the screen, we'll go back to the home. If you put your hydraulics on by your hydraulic button on the side, hydraulic settings, you're going to hit your unlock hydraulics, and you're going to click your hydraulic button on, and it's going to show you that your auxiliary are on and it's on standard flow. So if you wanted to have it on high flow, you would hold that button for approximately 3 seconds. That's going to switch to high. So that's how your high flow, low flow, or standard flow works for your hydraulics, and then you can just turn it off. In the settings as well, what else do we have? You can write a memo.
So if you want to type in a memo for the operator the next day that something was leaking, something was broke, something was fixed, something is damaged, you know what I mean, anything like that, you can write a memo, and then you're not forgetting that. Travel alarm, so we talked about this. You can have it on or off. So this is whenever you're traveling forward or backwards, so you cannot turn off the backwards beeper. But a travel alarm is an option that's required by a lot of construction sites of any movement of the vehicle, so you can turn that on or off now with a click of a button, and that is a standard feature. Auto shifting adjustment, again, you'll have to log in with your user code to change any of that. Dealer, so you can put your dealer info in here, and then the customer will know what the local dealer is, what the number is, and all that sort of thing. And now you're back to the start. So the one thing to end of what goes on whenever you stop it, it's the same button as your start. So you're gonna push your stop. It's gonna shut your machine off, and on the screen is gonna have your logout. So what this is again, you can go in and adjust what your logout time is, but this one's been set up for 10 minutes. So what that means is this will count down 10 minutes, where if you jump back in the machine and hit the start button, you don't have to put your code back in. So if you wanted to leave the machine and you're done for the day, you could simply hit log out. You're done. So the next person in would have to put in a code whenever they enter this machine to be able to start it or be able to use any of the functions. That's all that is. So nice little feature there where you can jump in, jump out, have a timeline where you're not having to punch in the code all day long if you are in and out of the machine. So nice little features that I thought of. Nice screen, nice to use, nice to see. So great added feature on this SVL 75-3. All right, now we're gonna look at the maintenance and serviceability of this machine. So a nice upgrade. Last model, of course, was still lift your cab up and everything. Now with this fully pressurized cab, the floor is all part of one. So all the material or anything on your boots is gonna stay in the cab, not drop to the floor, along with any debris and everything coming in is not gonna come into the cab. So it's gonna be a lot cleaner cab, a lot quieter cab. But what you're gonna do, there's bolts on the inside. I've already loosened them that they're hand tight, but you're gonna take the bolt out of each side, and this is shock assisted. So again, I'm not putting any effort into this. I was looking at different other brands. That's locking in, it's locked up. So that was realistically one-handed. There is a lot of other brands that you are two-handed, you are getting up there, it's grunt work, it's even two persons doing that. You can zoom in here. Lots of accessibility to all your hydraulics. So all your hydraulics, your DPF system for your emissions, your fuel filter and separators all in here, that nice and easy to get at. You can actually get in as a mechanic, as someone looking at it, get in, sit down and work on this thing. So there's ample room to move around, get in, get out. There is a drop floor plate that you can take that off, 4 bolts, and then you're cleaning out the debris right to the ground and cleaning that out. But you'll see the floor, your foot is a drop down here. This is what we're talking about by full pressurized cab. So that cab is all one unit. A lot quieter, a lot cleaner, and a lot more efficient for your heater and your AC to work. Again, to put it down, you're gonna lift up a little bit just to lift this safety off. Let it down. And again, with shock assisted, it's not going to slam down on you or anything that way. You're going to pull it down and you're going to bolt it in. It's as easy as that of getting into your hydraulics section. All right, serviceability on the back end. Door opens. There is a lock pin here that you can pull out and put in. So that is going to lock your door from closing on you or closing on anyone. Again, gas tank in the back of the door. So lots of weight on this door when it's full, but also lots more space in here. You see the whole engine. You see your fuel separator, fuel filters, air filter, battery, oil filters, fuses. Everything's right here. Rad's on top. We talked about that reversing fan, so it would be up here. Again, you can have it time for every certain amount of minutes, 60 minutes, let's say for an example, it would spin that fan. So what it's gonna do is instead of sucking air in, it's gonna blow air out. And anything of debris that's on these grates, take this off. So anything that's on this grate system that's protecting from little particles going into your rad and having to clean it out, it's going to blow them up and away from the machine. So a neat little feature of that reversing fan, if you do need that option for your application of sawdust and shavings and that kind of material, that you do get the machine dirty on the back end, that is an option that you can add either from factory or at the dealer. So that wraps up today's little video on the SVL 75-3. Hope you learned a few things from the last model to this model, and come see us to trade up, trade in. If you did, like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.